All right, looks like we're live. Happy New Year's. Still waiting on cousin Shane. I don't even know if Shane's going to be here, to be honest with you. Sent him a link, but no word. Cousin Shane, he may be several beers deep, but hey, I may get there before the end of the show. We got college football playoff coming up, preview. We haven't even touched on Ole Miss beating the hell out of Penn State. What a glorious that game that was. I don't know if we'll even talk Auburn and what happened in that debacle. Uh-oh. Shane says, shit, I thought we were going on after the games. There's no games on today, Shane, so I don't know what he's talking about. I'll be on as soon as I can. That's the way it goes with Shane. He'll be on as soon as he can. No timetable. I don't know if that means in an hour. I don't know if that means in a day. I don't know what that means, but hopefully he's on soon. But yeah, Happy New Year's to all y'all. Wearing this ridiculous attire just for you guys, just to ring in the occasion. How about them Auburn Tigers, says your boy Wilson. Oh, man. Ooh, boy. I don't know about them Tigers. I don't know about Hugh Freeze. Where was the big win? I mean, he nearly got it in the Iron Bowl, but of course they shit the bed at the end of the game. Again, I said I wasn't going to talk about it. Let's talk Ole Miss. Let's start on a positive. Ole Miss. It's funny how you're seeing the national narrative now, top 10, top 5 preseason, which is accurate. That's where they're going to start. That's where they should be with all their transfer portal additions. I wonder if anyone caught this during the all these bowl games. I forget which one. Peach Bowl. It was in the Peach Bowl. They threw up a graphic of all the additions Ole Miss had. There were so many. They left off so many. Key Lawrence, they left off. Juice Wells. I mean, some of the big ones they got because they got so damn many. So an 11-win, first time ever in school history, 11-win Ole Miss Rebels. Credit Lane Kiffin for doing something that's never been done in that school's history. Outstanding. Yeah, DJ says, don't be shocked. Ole Miss, Missouri SEC championship game next season. That would not shock me at all. I'd love to see it. New blood in the SEC championship. Drink. We kind of hit all on Drink already on the last episode, but Drink just got a contract extension, so got to mention that in case anybody missed it. So Drink's red hot. They've locked up his coordinators. I mean, Mizzou should be top 10 too. But let's focus here on Ole Miss real quick. 38-25, really should be 42. They robbed them of 4 points there at the start of the game. Officiating's just been god-awful all around. But how about Jackson Dart? 379 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Judkins went over 100. Prescorn was MVP, tight end Prescorn. 10 catches, 136, 2 touchdowns. Trey Harris, he had 134 yards. Just outstanding. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Penn State's defense looked fairly good, particularly the front 7. But that's just how damn good Ole Miss was. When you score 38, I guess a really good defense, that's a credit to Ole Miss and that offense that was just unstoppable for much of the game. And it could have been a lot worse. They could have put more points on them. But hell of a win for Ole Miss and company. Felt great for all those fans. Looked like the Ole Miss fans just outnumbered Penn State by a wide margin down there. Love to see that. And then Georgia. I really want to dig into this with Cousin Shane here, so hopefully he gets on here soon. But, Georgia just, my God. 63-3 over, I realize a half-manned Florida State, but whew, now Georgia's got the TCU game last year in this one. The 2 largest margins, bowl victories all time, belong to the Georgia Bulldogs, so credit to them. Daniel, appreciate you. $5 back-to-back years for extension for Drink. Here's to 2024. Plenty of pizzas for Mike and Shane. We still ain't got those damn pizzas. Come on, people. As well as SEC dominance with Mizzou in the college football playoff. I just can't wait for it. I mean, we know Alabama. We know Georgia. They're going to be there. Ole Miss, hopefully for those fans, get to experience the playoff. Mizzou. There's going to be others. Texas. Maybe Oklahoma. Maybe Tennessee. Maybe LSU. It's going to be a loaded SEC college football playoff next year. Miles, appreciate you. $5. Georgia definitely showed that they were a top 4 team in the country. Top 4, I think that's inaccurate. I think top 2. And hell, I think you can make the case Georgia's number 1. And I realize they didn't win the game that counts. So, it's not like they're not going to pull a UCF and do fake national champions. I mean, that'd be ridiculous. But line them up against Georgia. Ask Georgia who's the team Alabama. Who's the team Alabama does not want to see again? They don't fear Michigan. They don't fear Washington. I don't think they fear Texas either. I think the only team Nick Saban, if you gave him true serum, didn't want to face again, it's Georgia. And Georgia's top 2 team, probably number 1. Let's go Longhorns. Can't wait. I mean, that's probably going to be the real game of the college football. I think Alabama's going to whip the shit out of Michigan. I think it'll be something like 28-10, 27-13, something like that. I expect Alabama's going to win big in the Rose Bowl. But that Texas-Washington, I do think Texas wins it, but I think that's going to be a lot more competitive a game, high-scoring game. I think Texas' defensive front will be the difference in that game. Went back and watched some of Washington, really impressed by their offense. So I think they will be able to score on Texas, but not enough to get it done, I don't think. Foster the person says, is your side gig New Year's Eve party supply? No, I bought all this gear at the grocery store. It was like $5 for. I've got several more. I'm going to crack out some more tomorrow as well, because it's going to be New Year's. We're going to be loaded with some SEC football. Don't forget tomorrow, Wisconsin at LSU, noon Eastern time, 11 Central in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Iowa, Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl, 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central time. And then the big ones, Alabama, Michigan, of course, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 Central. And then Texas, Washington. What a damn game. We're going to go live immediately after the Alabama Michigan Rose Bowl. If Nico scores four or five touchdowns like we anticipate, we'll probably go live right after the Citrus Bowl. And if I am still awake, I'm going to go live after Texas beats the shit out of Washington. I'm going to try to go live many times tomorrow. Daniel, are you? Oh, here's Cousin Shane.
Hey!
We got him.
Oh, man. Sorry, man.
Oh, it's all good.
All right.
It was my bad. I didn't give you a proper heads up here.
Yeah, your heads up was 1 minute out. It's like, you ready? Oh, shit. No, I don't know what you've covered or gone over. It's going to be a wild day tomorrow. A lot of great football games. So we're going to be on and off all New Year's Day.
Yeah.
In between workouts, because it's a new year.
Exactly. Let's get your thoughts real quick, Shane, on let's go game by game here. Ole Miss, huge win, 11 win, first time ever in school history, 11 wins, beat the brakes off Penn State 38-25, and remember they got robbed of 4 points early in that game, so it should be even worse. What was your thoughts on Ole Miss just looking like a machine against Penn State?
Oh, baby. I thought that was going to be the ass whooping of the day. You know what I'm saying? It was so nice to see James Franklin over there crying and complaining about the refs and blah, blah. It's like, golly, I'm so glad he's out of the SEC. So, yes, I thought that was awesome. It always felt like it was on the edge of blowing up, Yeah. And so finally when they got a little wiggle room, they just ran away with it. And I'm so proud of them. For a team that has so many kids transferring in, you would think that would have been one of the schools that would have had a lot of opt-outs, and they didn't. It was Penn State, and I find that hysterical. They start the show that's basically what it was, just talking about how great Penn State was, and look how awesome this kid is. He dressed out. He's not playing, but man, he loves this team. I'm like, what? who dresses out? It's like me going to the gym and then like getting in the, the massage bed and leaving.
Now we'll get a lot more into this Florida State Georgia game in a minute. But appreciate you, Miles, for $5. He says this is the worst thing that's happened to the Seminoles since the Oregon Trail here.
Jeez.
So again, we'll get into that. But how about it, Shay? Because you're starting to see it. You see it during the game. A lot of national people, they were saying kind of what we've already been echoing, that Ole Miss college football playoff. At first it was they should be contending for a college football playoff spot next year when we go to 12.
Yeah.
Now the conversation has changed to top 5 national championship content. Not saying they're going to be the favorites, but I think it's completely legitimate to say this is a national championship contender next season. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm sorry. I was opening up my beer. I missed the first half of that. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Just the fact that, when Ole Miss, you just won 11 games.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
People are saying, this a playoff likely team because we're going to 12, right?
Yes.
I'm going a step further, Shane, and I'm not saying I'm not guaranteeing. Hell, if I guarantee it, that's the last thing they want to hear. But I'm not saying that they're a lock to be like national championship. But I think if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm saying, why can't we win the national championship? Is that going a step too far for you?
No, it's not. But it does hinge on Jackson Dart's decision. He was a little, he kind of avoided it. Him and Judkins, and as much as I love Judkins, I don't think that's the pivotal piece that needs to come back to win a national championship. But I do think that Jackson Dart has taken a monumental step forward this season and has shown that on a big stage, just like this game, he can contribute, he can take over, and that's what you need, that X factor. So, I think it would hinge a little bit on that, but if we get a commit from Dart, there's no reason that Ole Miss should not be considered a contender for the college football championship.
And we've seen a couple people in the comments here, Shane. They're saying, how about Ole Miss versus Missouri in the SEC championship? I mean, I'm not saying that's going to be the likely one. I'm not saying we're predicting that. But if I'm a Mizzou fan, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm dreaming. And I think it's somewhat realistic. What do you say about that?
Oh, very realistic, and I think this is just a preview of how strong this conference is, I mean, short of Auburn, we'll get to them here in a little bit, but other than that, the top, especially the top half of the SEC, that's your contenders, man. Everybody else, it looks pretty on paper, but when it comes down to going toe to toe with them, they're not doing too good so far.
Right. And so after this game, after this whooping, Shane, Lane Kiffin, I got a great comment of him. The best is yet to come for that Ole Miss Rebels. Let's kick it over to Kiffin real quick.
Lane, you mentioned taking this job 4 years ago, and you said you didn't come here to be good, but you came here to be great. Where would you measure this on the scale of greatness? And also after the game, you said that, there's more to come. What is that? What is in store for Ole Miss in the coming years?
Well, I think it's really, a cool time right now at Ole Miss, to win the most games in the history of the school and to have so many pieces already announcing that they're coming back, which I made sure a couple of them are still doing that after their performances today. But I think it's a really special time. And, I said that when we got hired, we didn't come here to be good and, win some, decent bowl games and some matches. We came here to be great, win New Year's 6 bowls like this, be a top 10 program. And so to not just have so many players coming back, but I think it's been well publicized, so many players around the country already joining in for next year. I just thought it was obviously extremely important to cap this thing off right, because I felt like the last couple weeks so much focus was on next year. These guys announcing they're coming back. All these great players around the country kind of coming together. Some of these guys joked about it, being the last dance next year, and I was just concerned there was too much focus on that. So obviously they did a great job showing up today, and like I said, a really cool game to see them really win situations in the fourth downs and critical plays in really critical situations and taking advantage of offsides and different things. Those are proud things as a coach when these guys do that.
All the way back.
And it's not just the game that Lane Kiffin is winning here, Shane. Anybody that missed it, we're laughing. Kiffin, he shared him and his lovely girlfriend here, and he's got the score in the background. He says 38-25, which is obviously the score of the game. Great scoreboard in the background, and Shane retweeted it more like 48-25.
Oh, hey, and I'll tell you what, Lane Kiffin just keeps winning, don't he?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He just keeps on winning. Oh, geez. Hey, it was a great game. It was, we talked about this coming into the bowl games. There's a handful of teams that are must wins, that really just capitalize on the momentum. You talked to Mizzou earlier, now Ole Miss. These are two teams that are hot right now on the recruiting trail, in the transfer portal, but it means nothing if you don't do it on the field. And I think it was very big that they got this win here. Not just a win. I mean, they destroyed Penn State.
Yeah, and one thing, Shane, I've not heard anybody talk about this, but it just kind of hit me. What is it every year we do with Lane Kiffin? We say, oh, is he interested in the Miami job? Mm-hmm. Is he interested in a Michigan State job? Is he this job, that? I mean, you hear none of that.
Yeah.
And he's just such a fit now at Ole Miss. They've embraced him to just an incredible degree. Heck, they embrace his dog. His dog's going to the games now. The announcers talk about juice up there, doing all that. And just the fact that not only Lane Kiffin, but the program that he has built, Shane, obviously, they saw this all coming, Shane. They've invested in the transfer portal. They invested in NIL. Now, maybe he used Auburn to help that, but I mean, everything I see, you see the main account tweeting this stuff out, Shane.
Yeah.
Give to the Grove Collective. They're having the announcer say it. Hey, you can't be balling on a budget. And then you got Kiffin out here saying it. You got all these players out here saying it. So credit them for kind of seeing where the landscape is, and whether you agree with it, whether you hate it, you love it, whatever. It doesn't matter. They saw where this was headed, and that's how they're building their program, and it's working.
And these other schools, that are around here thinking they can get away with the same old, they better get on it.
Right.
This isn't take notes and let's try it next year. It's like, if you don't get on the tail end of this thing, you're going to get left behind. Ole Miss is they're the tip of the spear right now when it comes to the new age college football.
Right. And now, of course, Shane, we're staying in a good mood for now, Shane. 63-6, Georgia just whoops the hell out of Florida State. I thought Florida State belonged in the playoff. Yada yada. I mean, I get it. Half their team didn't show up, but man, just what an epic beatdown that was. It was so bad. We'll get to these comments in a second here, Shane, but we got Kirby out here saying, we got to fix this. And his team just won by 60 points, yet he realizes that, this was awful for, just an elite team and then a scrimmage team.
Yeah.
You know what?
Well, I find it so funny, the opt-outs. Georgia was down players, transferring out and whatnot. I mean, Peter Warwick and Warwick Dunn in their prime could have walked into that damn place and they still would have got their ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? It was not a game. It was not close. I didn't even know Muschamp had a kid. You know what I'm saying? And now they're out there supporting him as a quarterback. So, I mean, that's how far down the depth chart they went. This was not close, and I'm glad. It should have been a statement game, and I'm glad that it was, Mike.
Yeah, and like I said before you hopped on here, Shane, so their last bowl win was 65-7 over TCU in the national championship game. Now this one's 63-6. Georgia now holds the two largest margin of victories in NCAA bowl game history. And certainly, Shane, this speaks to, again, we could make the same case, everything that Florida State, I I'm not bagging on their players necessarily, but everything that the reasons they opted out and decided not to play, what was the goal? We've been saying for 12 months, Shane, in Athens. The only goal wasn't even to win the SEC, was win the national championship. And as soon as they lost to Alabama, we all knew that wasn't going to happen. But they didn't have half their damn team quit and opt out and all that. It's just, it speaks to the culture there in Athens and what Kirby has built, and the fact that these guys are going to play their ass off every time they have an opportunity. You know what?
Well, I'm telling you, Kirby Smart is the king of getting the most out of players. You've seen how hard, the tight end worked. I forgot his name off the top of my head, Brock. This is a guy that was banged up, and we were like, oh, how the hell did he get back in the lineup? Because that's just what Kirby's good at. Like, if you've got it in you, it's that player in him. He's got that dog. He's from, he played down there, and he knows what's expected at that university. And he's just I don't know, man. He's just a dog whisperer, That's what he is. He gets the most out of them.
Right. And that is something that after the game, Shane, Kirby went in on him. Let's kick it over to Kirby and just, basically, his team's going to show up every time if there's a game of this magnitude to be played.
All right, Riley Dognet, you won the last game of last season by 58 points, and then you win this game by 60 points. Why does your team play its best football in the final game of the season?
Well, I don't know. I certainly think that we get better as the year goes. There's a culture on our place of work ethic that the job's not done. I think a lot of coaches relax at the end of the year, and they kind of just, they say, well, this game doesn't matter, or this game is not important, and there's nothing that's not going to be important in our place. There's not going to be a day that we walk out on that field that Kamari Laster's not walking through that it's not important, that Kendall Milton's not doing blitz pickup that is not important. And I think that standard has translated into, success. And I think that's a big part of the culture that's been created.
Now, we're doing it with Ole Miss. We're doing it with Missouri Shades. We might as well do it for Georgia. Let's say there was a 12-team playoff this year. Mm-hmm. Would the Georgia Bulldogs, would they be your favorite to win it all?
Yeah. I mean, I made the joke, who did they leave out of the college football playoff? And I tell you, if you poll the 4 teams that are in it right now, they're praying, they're thanking God right now that the Georgia Bulldogs are not in the mix, because if so, they would be. I can't imagine there'd be one game right now. And I know it's crazy. Bama fans are like, oh, that's crazy talk. But I'm telling you, after that performance, after we got to see what they could do, there's no I just don't see any chance that Georgia is not favored in all 4 of those games.
Right. I mean, I even heard someone say Florida State was suing to get the game to end here. They didn't want to play in the fourth quarter. I guess that mighty Georgia Bull. It looked like credit to Florida State. Their defense actually did play pretty well to start the game. I mean, it was only 7-0 after the first quarter, but that makes the rest of the game that much uglier. You know what?
Gosh, speaking of ugly, your damn internet is all over the place, Mike. I swear, you get frozen over here. I hope this new year you find some internet in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, so, hey, they made waves here, or at least Kirby did, Shane, because just with the fact that he was upset after the game, saying, hey, we got to fix something up over here. Let's kick it over to Kirby, get his thoughts on college football needing to change something so that we don't get these damn lopsided Orange Bowl like we did at Georgia, Florida State.
Let me say something on that, because you didn't ask me that question. And maybe I'm wrong here, and maybe this will be a bad soundbite. But people need to see what happened tonight, and they need to fix this. It needs to be fixed. It's very unfortunate that they, who has a good football team and a good football program, are in the position they're in. And everybody can say it's their fault and it's their own problem, all right? And everybody can say that we had our guys and they didn't have their guys. I can listen to all that. But college football has got to decide what they want. And I know things are changing, and I think things are going to change next year. And you know what? There's going to still be bowl games outside of those. People got to decide what they want and what they really want to get out of it, because it's really unfortunate for those kids on that sideline that had to play in that game that didn't have their full arsenal, and it affected the game 100%.
Jared says, I need to get some internet out of the portal, Shane.
Yeah, I don't know if you're on Wi-Fi or if it's hardwired or what. Kick everybody else off, man. Tell them to turn Netflix on when we're over at the show here. Hey, this is a discussion that we've had several times on here. Opt-outs are a bad look, and it usually affects the SEC the most. And I think it's changed over the years, but we're going to have to do something monumental to shift this, or we're going to continue to go down this path, Mike. So, me and you, I don't know if you wanted to bring that up, but we had a couple of ideas. I'm just curious, because I've been giving this some thought, brother. We're going to 12 teams next year, and while you're got your Charter Spectrum hat on, let me throw mine out there, because we're kind of merging and looking like this the NFL landscape where we got the playoffs, same concept here. So, and I know it's not a popular opinion, but what if we did away with the bowls, Mike? I mean, we got 12 teams making the college football playoffs. I hate to see it, but, I think that would put more energy into the 12 teams that did make it. One thing that I discussed with you is maybe putting a larger emphasis on senior bowls, maybe even have some sort of like a Pro Bowl situation for underclassmen, kids that can't go to the next level, but maybe had an extremely successful season, bringing those guys in and making it a fun week where we can, I don't know, an NIL situation, somebody that maybe wasn't on the radar, he picks up a big contract at the end of that game or something like that. I just think maybe focusing on some of the individuals on these teams that, the teams maybe didn't make it to a playoff, maybe highlighting what they have done and kind of mimic the NFL. I know it's crazy, but that's kind of what we're doing already. So that was my thoughts on these opt-outs.
Yeah, it's interesting. Certainly, I like some of what you had to say there, Shane. I think there's so much money involved that these players are, they're realizing this is just like a money grab is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, just let's use that Orange Bowl as an example. It's Capital One Orange Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. Capital One pays $25 million a year for it to be the Capital One Orange Bowl. So I don't know. I think what we're going to have to do, Shane, we're going to have to give some of the money to the players if they're playing in this bowl game. Mm-hmm. And I would love it if, whatever percentage you gave the players, let's say it's, 25% of that 25 million, that the team that wins, maybe they get a larger portion of it. So, it's even more competitive because there's literal money on the line. I don't know how realistic any of that is, but yeah, you're right. When we go to the 12 teams, all the other bowl games are going to be even less important than these games that we're getting now.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And you think the opt-outs are bad now, like you said, when you got 12 teams fighting for a championship, watch the opt-outs then, because a lot of these kids are going to be transferring out like they're doing now. I think that whole transfer portal, that's another one that drives me nuts. Why throw it right here in the mix of everything when we could just wait a couple of weeks when the games are over and then open the window? It just, I think there has to be some sort of adjustment here because it's just too much. And I'm not saying that the coaches can't handle it, but you're watching a Georgia team that has players going to Kentucky. You're watching some of these other teams that's got players that have moved on, like Texas A&M. It's why? If you pushed it after the games, then they have no reason not to be there unless they're going to the NFL, which I can get behind if you're not in the 12-team playoff.
Right, and this is going to happen, Shane. I hope and pray it doesn't happen to Texas here coming up, but and they may even be fine because they got Arch Manning. But the perfect example, Shane, is their quarterback, Malik Murphy, what's his name, the backup, who jumped in the portal. Texas is playing for a national championship, basically. Yet they don't have their backup because he's at Duke now. And he knew, hey, I could wait till after, but Duke's probably going to find another quarterback. I'm going to lose my spot. It's foolish. And what's going to happen, Shane, particularly in this 12-team playoff, there's going to be a team where their starter goes down and then they don't have a backup because that guy went in the portal. and they're not going to win a national championship because their damn backup left to secure a spot. So, I mean, let's hope that doesn't hurt Texas, but it's going to hurt somebody at some point unless they fix this.
You think Michigan's cheating now? Wait till they get one of these transfers up there and just first 48 hours just study their playbook. You know what I'm saying?
Now, unfortunately, Shay, we got to talk about it real quick here. Auburn basically no-showed the Music City Bowl, just got whipped by Maryland 31-13 with a backup quarterback. I think they were down, I know it was right out the gate, it was 14-0, maybe even 21-0. They looked awful. Yeah. They looked unprepared, unready, kind of like the New Mexico State game right before the Iron Bowl that they damn near won.
Kind of like this podcast sometimes, you know?
And then I don't know if you saw it after the game, Shay, but Hugh Freeze basically said, "Well, I was focused on recruiting. I didn't get these guys ready." He said the same damn thing about the transfer portal. We're not doing portal. We're doing high school recruiting right now, as if all these other coaches are not doing their job. But I guess just focusing on one, and they did good in recruiting. So maybe we got to give them a little bit of a break. But I don't know what do you make of this, Shane? Because I don't think that Hugh Freeze did a very good job on the field this year. Mm-hmm. And, we kept waiting for this mega upset to happen. It nearly happened in the Iron Bowl, so maybe we give him a little bit of credit. But, they really didn't take a big step on the field. And prior to the bowl game, Shane, these fans, they were all in for some reason, I don't understand, on Peyton Thorne and him being the quarterback next year. And then we have this bowl game, they're back out again. But last time I checked, Shane, I mean, the offense for about 85% of the season was just awful outside of some running. And I'm trying to figure out, again, we're not firing Hugh Freeze after 1 year or anything, but I don't know. This was a rough debut, a lot rougher than I thought. And if not for recruiting, I'd be hitting the panic button.
Well, and rightfully so. And I think I was trying to find a tweet here. I think it was talking about Cadillac would have won more games, So I'm not jumping off the bandwagon because of this particular game, but clearly Hugh Freeze was not ready. Auburn Tigers were not ready, and you can't. I don't like my head coach blaming other things. Come out, own it, just own it. We all know it. We realize that quarterback room is a hot mess, and I've heard rumors that it's been like that before at other places that he's been, that he's afraid to name a starter and, just the head games that he plays and whatnot. So clearly that starting quarterback is not in that room, which makes me a little more leery moving into the season, because we would love to walk away from that Alabama game and say, damn, the boys are back. You know what I'm saying? Auburn is back. They just need a couple more pieces, and they're competing again for championships. But you watch a game like this, and you just throw it right out the window. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not panicking, but this was very unorganized. It almost felt like Pee-wee football at times.
How about this comment from Kevin, Shane? He says, Hugh Freeze was too focused on Pornhub. That's Kevin talking, not us. But I did enjoy that comment. But, yeah, I mean, we got to see something next year. And they have a very manageable schedule. They can still grab a quarterback from the transfer portal. I think they should. Oh, yeah. But that'll be something to watch moving forward. All right, how about these games tomorrow, Shane? Tennessee, how excited are you for the debut of the Nico era?
It's like Christmas Eve, man. I ain't gonna be able to sleep. I'm nervous for the kid. I know there's a lot on him. There's going to be a lot of eyes. There's not going to be a Tennessee fan not watching this football game because they're trying to figure out what the next 3 to 4 years is going to look like. And and you think about some of the big name quarterbacks that have come through. There's been times where we put them on a pedestal and it didn't quite come to fruition. So, you're hoping that's that battered ball syndrome that you talked about. That part's going on, but then there's the other part saying, what if? What if this is the guy? What if this is the dude that's going to take us to the promised land? So I'm pumped up, man. I'm so ready to see what the next chapter of Tennessee football looks like.
Right. And to me, Shane, it feels like there's only one of two things going to happen tomorrow during this Tennessee Iowa game. There's going to be overreaction that Nico's awful and they wasted all this money, or he's going to win at 3 Heismans. You know, like it's one or the other. There's not going to be any in between. There's just going to be overreaction city. I can't wait for it.
I can't either, man, and I hope it's the latter, brother, because I can't stand the New Year's. Here I am trying to eat healthy, and then all of a sudden that happens. It's like I may just go hit the Chinese buffet after all.
And then don't forget the ReliaQuest Bowl, Shane, LSU, Wisconsin. The only opt-out we got is Jaden Daniels, so it's the start of the Garrett Nussmeier era. Very interested to see what Garrett Nussmeier looks like with a month to prepare as a starting quarterback, the future of LSU's program. We have seen him at times. He looked incredible. Again, this is going to be another overreaction type where if he has a great performance against Wisconsin, LSU is going to feel pretty good moving forward.
That's it. It's either going to be, hey, we're going to be all right, or we're in trouble. You know, Kelly's leaving after all. You know, I'm right there with you. This one's going to be a telltale. I can't wait to see Wisconsin too. That's a game we're going to get to see next year in the regular season. So this is going to be a hell of a matchup. And like you said, quarterback situation. That's what it boils down to on these first 2 games.
Right. And I appreciate you, Eric. He gave us $5. Will Iowa show up wearing leather helmets? Their offense is from the 30s. They suck, which I agree with. But that puts a little pressure on Nico. You can't have an egg in this bowl performance. I don't think Tennessee fans are going to be very happy if they lose to this Iowa team. But
I'm kind of torn on the defense, you know, because you talk about putting on a pedestal. This Iowa defense is, it sounds like the damn 88 Bears are coming in or something. I've not watched one Iowa game, so I don't know. But I will say this, you know, that's what they said about Penn State. That's what they said about Ohio State. And, you know, Ohio State looked good for 2-3 quarters, but then they broke loose. So I'm just saying maybe that Big Ten defense is a little bit of a myth this year.
Oh, I think it very much is, Shay, because they don't have the athletes that we got down here in the SEC, and it's clear as day to me. They are
now. Tennessee loses, I'm gonna be like, damn, we found them. This is the legit one. They weren't lying.
But then, so that's going to be the appetizer, Shane, of course, for the college football playoff. Cannot wait. And we had, this is great, Shane. Kevin Steele, Alabama defensive coordinator, was asked. Remember, there was all that. Kiffin said, well, hell, he ain't even calling the plays anymore and all that. Kevin Steele, who doesn't speak to the media, Alabama keeps their coordinators hidden, but he had to speak for the Rose Bowl. Let's kick it over to Kevin Steele real quick. Asked about Lane Kiffin saying he's not the defensive coordinator at Alabama anymore.
All right, so I gotta ask. Lane Kiffin earlier this year said he intimated that they had taken play calling away from you. What did you think of that? And
nothing. Nothing. I know Lane.
Okay. Why do you think he said it then?
I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Did they take the play calling away? Did any of that change?
No. I'll help you on one of your questions, though. Who do you think the defensive coordinator at Alabama is? Who? Who? Name but one. And he's won 7 national championships. As long as you know that, we're good.
So moral of the story, Shane, it doesn't really matter who's calling the play or who has that title. It's Nick Saban that's running the ship down there.
Yeah, I just thought it was great, you know, because he hears it, and he hears Lane. So you saw it on his face as soon as he heard Lane's name get brought up. So,
hey, how about this one, Shane, from Just One More Project Bag? $10. Appreciate you. Happy 2024 to the first college football podcast I ever listened to. Thanks, fellas, for giving me some joy. This is 2019. Go Big Orange.
Go Big Orange.
Beat the hell out of Iowa tomorrow. Can't wait for it. But, yeah, I mean, all that was obviously just a huge troll job from Lane.
Yeah.
And, man, Kevin Steele handled it like a pro. And, hey, Lane Kiffin can say what he wants, but until he can actually beat Nick Saban, until he actually beats Alabama. I mean, he's going to have to keep trying to do these tricks
Yeah.
that clearly aren't working. You know what?
Well, and that's one thing I liked about this week, Mike. It was, especially going back to Lane Kiffin, it was just business. We came out here, here you got a guy like Hugh Freeze that comes out and blames the recruiting and yada, yada, yada. And Lane saying, hey, I tried to take the focus off that. We know the kids are coming. We just want to focus on this game, this particular game, and that's what happened. And that's why I think Ole Miss was just so dialed in this matchup. And one of the interesting comments I've heard in some of these bowl games is you forget how much time has gone between their last game and this one here. And, that's why a lot of these offenses are a little slow, a little sluggish out of the gate. But once they get going, you start seeing why they were such a powerhouse. And I expect the same with Alabama here.
Right. And so these playoff games, Shane, Alabama, Michigan, obviously Texas and Washington in the night game. Which one do you think will be the more competitive game and less likely to be a blowout? Would you go the Rose Bowl, Alabama, Michigan, or would you say the Sugar Bowl, Texas, Washington? Which one will be more competitive in your mind?
Believe it or not, I think it'll be the Alabama, Michigan. I think Texas. I think nothing against Washington. I think what they've done has been fantastic up to this point, but I do think that they may be the most overrated team that's in this four, and I think Texas really exposes that. And Alabama, I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to win the game, but when you talk about blowouts, it wouldn't surprise me if it's similar to the last Michigan game we watched, where they kind of hang around at the beginning and then they slowly pull away. So, yeah.
Now, I realize this, it doesn't necessarily work this way, Shane. We can't just say, well, Auburn lost, and not only lost, but got pretty much blown out by New Mexico State. Then they turn around and get blown out by Maryland. They should have beat Alabama. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And that is actually something Saban talked about. Let's kick it over to Nick Saban real quick. He's asked about the Iron Bowl, and then I want to ask you about it on the other side.
I asked a lot of the players yesterday what their favorite moment was from the season, and a lot of them said the 4th and 31 play in the Iron Bowl. It seemed like a very pivotal moment for the team. What did you specifically learn about the team after that game?
Team after which game? That game was a difficult game for us. We'd already kind of clinched the SEC, and I think everybody was looking a little bit ahead of what might be in store for playing in the SEC championship game, and I don't think we respected the Auburn team like we should, and I don't think we played one of our best games, and I think we're very fortunate at the end of the game to be able to execute and come out with a win. So hopefully the players learn that it doesn't matter who you play. They're going to give you when they play us, we're going to get their best game, and we need to be prepared to play our best game every time we go out on the field.
Now, whether he realized it or not, Shane, that is the ultimate disrespect you can give to your arch rival here. We weren't ready. We were looking ahead.
Yeah.
And we still beat you. We barely beat you, but we still beat you at your place. You know what I mean?
This is a prime example why you can't overlook shitty teams, Mike, because next thing you know, you're facing 4th and 31. No, I love this. This is a little bit of an underhand, but I do think the message is key here, brother, because, I go back to last year, Ohio State, Georgia Bulldogs. That's a game that it was almost lost. That was a game when we like to talk about how great Georgia did against TCU, but that would not have happened if there weren't a couple of good breaks going Georgia's way. I don't think Alabama wants to be in that situation. And so, late in the season, Iron Bowl, playing a team which you think is inferior, come down to the wire, that gives me pause, and it should give this team pause when they go against a program like Michigan saying, hey, we may not think they're as good as us, but they still could beat us. So I think that was it may be a miracle in disguise, brother.
Right, and like Mother Jones here says, just like Mizzou, Florida. I mean, the moral of the story is, Shane, that's the SEC.
Yeah.
Where short of Vanderbilt, damn near any team can catch you. if they play their best game and you don't play your best game, that's why it's the nation's toughest conference. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this. But I'm trying to think which game will be more competitive. I really think it's, you said the Rose Bowl. I'm going Sugar Bowl shape because I think Alabama is going to kill Michigan. Yeah. I think Michigan's overrated as hell. We all know they were cheating. Yeah. And Nick Saban, Shane, he's 10-1 when he's got a month to prepare for a football game. Harbaugh's lost 6 bowl games in a row. Jalen Milroe, 17 touchdowns since the month of November. J.J. McCarthy, 1 touchdown since the month of November. I mean, we're getting hot. We're getting versus cold. We're getting good against bad. We're getting athletes against bully balls. But I just don't think you could bully Alabama or Georgia. I think that's the wrong method to beating those teams. But hell, maybe I'm wrong. But what would you say about those, Shane? Because I've heard this too, that the thing about Alabama and Georgia, they're obviously built with the same blueprint. Mm-hmm. Kirby learned from Nick Saban, so Georgia's strengths are typically Alabama's strengths, and the weaknesses are the weaknesses, vice versa. They've played each other so often. They know how to attack each other. Nick Saban knows how to prepare for Kirby. Kirby knows how to play for Nick Saban. So that is a unique game in itself. But if I'm a Michigan fan, if I'm an Alabama hater, I'm sitting here saying, maybe that's why you beat Georgia. Maybe that's why you struggled against Auburn. And maybe that gives Michigan hope in this college football playoff. What would you say about that?
Well, I'm sure there's some famous quote about how hope can kill you, So I think hope is what they got to have coming into this game. But, I think if you're Alabama, if you're Nick Saban, you're chasing that dream, you just got to go do – you got to do what you got to do, man. They can't come out here. Michigan cannot mimic Georgia Bulldogs. So when I'm watching that game, it's not like you could say, okay, well, this worked for them, short of them stealing signs or something like that. You just can't do it. The teams are just totally different. Like you said, Kirby is a better prepared coach against Nick Saban than Jim Harbaugh will be. So there's no worry there. But
right.
But again, it's a team that you can't overlook or you can't get bit because they got talent, brother. They've got a lot of players up there that Alabama was trying to recruit. So you just can't come in thinking you're going to destroy the team and not be prepared, because if you do and you start overlooking the little things become big problems. And then next thing you know, in the fourth quarter, you're trying to come back and win. So I just come out here, do what you're good at, and Alabama has been on this trajectory the entire time. I don't think they fall short here.
And in the other game, Shane, I tried to find the clip. I couldn't quite find it, but I know you wanted to talk about it. The Washington quarterback, Michael Penix, he was a runner-up for the Heisman. Their offensive line won the Joe Moore Award given to the nation's top offensive line. And he basically said, Texas, they got a good defensive line, but they've never faced an offensive line like this. And that seems like one of those comments he's going to deeply, deeply regret tomorrow night, Shane. And I wish they would hand out the Joe Moore Award after the bowl game, because I remember a couple years ago, Shane, they gave it to the Michigan. They faced Georgia, and this was I think it was the 2020 season, and Georgia just whooped them all up and down the field, and they took offense to that after the game. They said, well, hell, our offensive line's a hell of a lot better than the one we just faced. They should have gave a Joe Moore Award to our offensive line. So that's going to be further ammunition, I think, for Texas going into this bowl game. And we both think it's going to be Alabama. We both think it's going to be Texas. It's going to be a rematch in Houston if it plays out that way, Shane. Would you rather be Texas that knows you can beat Alabama, that went into Tuscaloosa and won by double digits, or would you rather be Alabama and have that revenge factor, know that you're a lot better than you were week 2 of the season, and feel like you're the hottest team in the country? Man, what storyline? Again, I guess I'm not trying to ask you to pick the game just yet, but which narrative would you rather have in a national championship game?
Well, I think you could spin it either way. You know, I mean, Texas. I mean, you're in Houston, so you
Yeah.
would think that would favor the Longhorns. But yeah, I just don't want to get the cart in front of the horse, man, because here we're already doing it. We're saying, hey, don't overlook Michigan, but after they beat them, you know, let's get through these games before we start talking about the national championship, because if it doesn't go our way, Mike, we may not even watch that last game.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, Shay, you know, I don't want to go too long here. It's New Year's Eve. Let you get back to the fam. Let the fans get back to it as well. But any closing thoughts, Shay, before we head into this epic New Year's Day with LSU, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas? Oh, what a glorious day! It's a national holiday just for the college football alone here on New Year's Day. You know what?
Oh, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Got the whole day off just for football, just for the pod. We're going to be back and forth on this thing. I cannot wait. And these coaches, I love it, man. There's some good ones. One video we didn't include on the end, Nick Saban was asked about the cheating with Michigan, and Jim Harbaugh just sitting right there, you know, squirming and looking around, didn't know what to do with his hands, you know. I just love it. But Nick Saban responded. He goes, "No, we ain't worried about that." You know what I'm saying? That's the Coach Saban I want to hear. You know, there's integrity in this football game. They're going to come out here. They're going to play. So we got some awesome football tomorrow, and I hope everybody's safe. I hope they drink plenty of cold beers tonight and have a happy New Year. And I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow.
Absolutely, yeah. Happy New Year's to each and every one of you. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vol. Come on, Nick.